Alright, mate. Do you have anger issues and get into fights? Or maybe you're too aggressive with your partner and it's ruining your relationship? You may also want to dominate conversations and, people. In this video, I'm going to explain why that happens. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Mastermind Content Archetype series. I'm Richard Oldale and I've been studying and practicing depth psychology since 2014. I've also researched neuroscience, psychobiology, quantum physics and philosophy to develop an holistic understanding of the mind-body energy connection. Now, if you saw part 1 of The Warrior, you may remember that we discussed that you have access to 12 archetypes which require development to a reasonable psychological level of maturity. Because when these parts of the personality are repressed and thus unexpressed, they can spring from the subconscious in an undeveloped state of maturity and prompt behaviours that can cause chaos and havoc. And the undeveloped warrior is one of the most destructive of the archetypes. You see, the warrior is one of the most powerful archetypes, but it's also one of the most chaotic. So if it's left unchecked, there's a tendency towards aggression and sometimes even violence. Even if you're usually the most placid individual, you can feel compelled to punch somebody in the face if this archetype rises up at a certain moment when you feel as though someone has disrespected you. And as the name suggests, the warrior is a destructive energy. And when underdeveloped, it emerges into conscious awareness as aggression, rage, abusiveness, arrogance, barbaric nature, cold and callous. You can also be blunt with people, hold on to grudges and seek vengeance. You also have irrational behaviours such as taking emotional risks. The wounded warrior, for example, is the most likely archetype to cheat on a spouse or gamble money away that you don't have. This personality type is also egocentric and needs to feel like the alpha male or female. And what's more, make it known that you are the alpha. This type of behaviour also flags this type of individual as a megalomaniac. Not great traits to have in your locker if you're honest. But this all boils down to insecurity, even though you don't want to admit that to yourself. However, it's not your fault that you are this way. You see, our personalities are determined by genetics and past experiences. And for the wounded warrior, there was a disconnect with the mother. You learnt how to bond with members of the opposite sex by serving as a protector and making sacrifices to please the other person. You became a people pleaser because you wanted to make your mother happy and stay in her good books. Now, when this type of behaviour starts from a young age, it's because you were starved of warmth and attention from your mother. Now, as a consequence, you never learned how to interact with people by showing affection. Subsequently, you don't know how to receive or to give love properly. And even more damning, you lose touch with yourself and don't have a clue about your emotional needs. Because you're accustomed to giving up your needs all the time, you don't recognise that you have needs of your own. And the wounded warrior is emotionally undernourished. Hardship and suffering is part of the core for this personality type. Now, this can naturally lead you to feel bitter and disappointment a lot of the time, even though you may not realise why you feel bitter and disappointed. Now, disappointment surfaces as frustration and anger. And this is an emotional reaction which is most prominent when you feel threatened, disrespected, or a sense of injustice. Now, other symptoms that you may identify with on this spectrum are abusiveness, jealousy, revenge, impatience, and recklessness. You can also be irrational when you read a comment or a situation incorrectly. For example, somebody may make a joke in an attempt to banter with you, but you take it as a personal affront and you feel triggered and suddenly become aggressive. These behaviours are subconscious. It means that you're not consciously aware of why they are happening to you, only how they are happening to you. You don't really know why you defend yourself or lash out at somebody when they offend you, but you will try to rationalise this later on by creating a set of circumstances that justify your behaviour. And that essentially leads to an embellishment or twisting of what actually happened. Now, what all these experiences boil down to is a lack of inner security. A developed warrior provides you with inner security because you have self-trust. When the warrior is underdeveloped, you don't have that self-trust. Now, when you can't trust yourself or others to meet your emotional needs, just as your mother didn't provide your emotional nourishment when you were an infant, you're also uncertain of where you stand with people in a relationship. So to make sure that you are standing on the top and looking down at everybody else, you adopt a position of dominance. You feel the need to dominate and manipulate people to get your own way, which in a sense is ironic because you don't really know what you want or how to get it when the warrior is underdeveloped. And this is what causes the chaos, the havoc and the irrational behaviour. What the wounded warrior really needs is affection, but you don't trust people to give you the affection that you need, and you may not recognise it even if they did. Now, once you've been hurt in relationships a few times, you stop acting as a protector for somebody else and a provider for others. You become the protector and provider for yourself, for your heart. You just don't want to break your heart again and again because you're afraid to love. Now, the opposite of love is fear. Fear breeds insecurity. Anger and aggression is an emotional response to fear and insecurity. And the principal reason for that is because your emotional armour is weakened and doesn't protect your emotional well-being, which is fragile to say the least. You could even be completely shut off from your emotions, and this would explain why you don't consider how other people feel by the way that you treat them. So if you recognise the wounded warrior in your personality, or you recognise these patterns in somebody else that you know, then it would be beneficial for you to try to get in touch with your emotions and discover what you really want from life that nourishes your emotional well-being in a healthy, positive and constructive ways. Also, keep an eye out for part 3 of The Warrior to learn how to develop this archetype. If you haven't already subscribed to the Mastermind Content channel, then please do so now so you'll be posted every time I upload new content. And thanks for watching this one, and if you did like it, then please hit the like button, and I hope to see you soon. I'm Joe and this is Mastermind Content.